Howdy folks, and welcome back to yet another review. Today, we'll be entering a whole new world that looks mostly like our world, but we swear it's a different place entirely. There, we shall compete in a tournament that will determine the fate of our very realm. Or something. I'll be honest, I kinda talked during that part of the movie. Besides me and my friend, there was no one else there. Okay, what I'm trying to say is, I saw Mortal Kombat too. So I guess I'll be reviewing it here. So sit back, relax, and get ready for no trailer footage being shown in this review because YouTube keeps copyright claiming my content and making it inaccessible in most regions. And I thought Shao Kahn was the villain here. To start, let's get a bit into the background of this film. Like its predecessor, this film was directed by Simon McQuoid. As for writing, this film had someone else who was entirely new. Jeremy Slater, who co-wrote the 2015 Fantastic Four film. Oh. Well, he also helped co-write the live-action Netflix Death Note movie. Well, he also did help with Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. Okay, I like that one, but yeah, the writing wasn't all that strong either. Just like the previous film, this movie was based on the Mortal Kombat video game franchise that was created by John Tobias and Ed Boon. According to my limited research, which is just Wikipedia, because I honestly don't feel like going to ad-filled tabloid websites, the film had 5 producers, with one of them being James Wan and the other being the aforementioned director. The production companies behind this film were New Line Cinema, Atomic Monster, Broken Road Productions, and Fireside Films. Warner Bros. Distributed the film. Mortal Kombat 2 released on May 8th, 2026. The 116-minute-long film received mixed reviews from critics. Out of a budget of $80 million, the film has so far only managed to make around $60 million. Meaning that it's not even broke even yet. But hey, give it some time. Maybe it'll do better on round 2. Then again, The Devil Wears Prada 2 is kinda OP, so they might just win this match. So anyways, what's this film all about? Honestly, it's sort of a mess story-wise, but I'll try to summarize to the best of my ability. Basically, we meet our heroes from the previous film, who now have a new, unwilling teammate in the form of a man named Johnny Cage, who is a former Hollywood star who is now washed up. In this movie, a tournament is being held that will determine if an evil warlord from another dimension, Shao Kahn, reigns supreme and conquers our reality. Along the way, we meet a princess named Kitana, who is the adopted daughter of Shao Kahn. Spoiler, she hates his guts and wants to stop his reign of terror. The only question is, if she and our heroes can stay alive long enough to do so. Okay, time to talk about what I thought of the story. Honestly, it makes the first film seem pretty darn coherent. I think focusing solely on Cole Young's perspective in the first Mortal Kombat, in retrospect, was actually a good idea. Mainly because this film has a hard time juggling through its 2 main leads, but also juggling through all the side characters as well. It's like the film just couldn't calm down for 5 seconds. It was constantly moving. Now, in my review of the previous film, I complained a little about the downtime that was had. But looking back, that downtime was pretty needed. In this movie, we are sorta just told to care about these characters, but we aren't really given enough time to explore them and their personalities, hopes, dreams, and insecurities. Like they try to do a bit with Johnny Cage, but it feels like this character arc is sort of missing a chunk in the middle. It's just sort of all over the place. Like, we have fight scenes that are loosely tied together with the pretense of the tournament, but honestly it doesn't really feel like a tournament at all. It again just feels like one fight after another. It's missing some sense of organization. It feels like a kid who's bashing his action figures together and making a loose plot around it all. But hey, I'll give the film credit, it knows exactly what kind of movie it is. It's an R-rated summer popcorn flick that's about the spectacle. It expects you to point at things that you recognize if you played the games before. The story has locations and beats that are also similar to the games. In fact, I just sort of realized while typing this, but it's basically like the Super Mario Galaxy movie, but for adults. It's an old video game IP that relies on recognizable locations and characters, that goes a million miles a second because there's no time for moments of calm. There needs to be a constant stimulation, so we only need the skeleton of a plot so we can fill it in with fight scenes instead. And that isn't necessarily a bad thing, but again it feels very disconnected from the tone of the first film. It's less serious if that makes sense. Like, there are still stakes, people still die horribly, but they do it in a way that sort of bothers me. Because as it turns out, you can just bring people back to life. This isn't a spoiler, the posters and trailers already revealed that folks who died previously are now back. And that's an element that I wish that they didn't adapt from the games. Because how do I know if a bad guy is really gone? For all we know, they're just gonna show up again in the next film like nothing happened. I hope that if Mortal Kombat 3 does get made, it keeps this in mind and maybe pushes it aside like the whole Arcana thing, which wasn't even mentioned once, which indicates that they were aware of the criticisms of the first film. Speaking of which, it seems like they did try to address some things. Cole Young is in it a lot less, which I was kinda sad to see. It's weird to see the literal protagonist of your first film just sorta get sidelined for an entirely new hero. Part of me kinda respects the audacity, but part of me also feels bad for Louis Tan. The dude ain't a bad actor at all. He really does deserve better in these films because he has a great physical presence. In fact, I'll now move on to the characters. Okay, so the trailers already showed off Karl Urban playing as Johnny Cage. He's the big star for this film, the guy who gets the butts in the seats. And you know what? He was fine. It was neat to see his take on the character. He's playing an older, down-on-his-luck version of Johnny Cage. Someone who thinks they are past their prime. But the thing is, he just sort of skips part of his character arc as mentioned before. One minute he's down on his luck, getting his butt whooped. And the next he's sort of rushing into battle, despite the fact that he has no powers. Again, it feels like there's a point between A and C that's missing. Johnny is a character that seems like he needed just a bit more time in the character arc oven to be someone that goes from okay to being something really memorable. As for our second lead, Adeline Rudolph played Princess Kitana. Personally, I found her character to be a bit more engaging since she has like an actual reason to want to fight the antagonist and get revenge. She plays the part very well. Out of the two, I preferred her over Karl Urban. So it's a shame that she didn't get top billing because she had so much more reason to be the focus of the film than Johnny Cage did. Now, it sounds like I'm calling Karl Urban terrible at his job, and I'm really not. Like, he was fun, but I wanted more from his character. Again, just comparing the two leads, it seems like Adeline was just given better material to work with. Besides the leads, I thought the antagonist was also pretty good. Shao Kahn, who was played by Martin Ford, was probably the most fun I've had with a villain in a while, because he was actually big, intimidating, and killed people. Like, when he swung that hammer of his, you could feel the impact, and his voice reminded me a lot of Lord Humongous from Mad Max. The dude is a staggering 6'8", and he just has the sort of presence that demands your attention. I think it was absolutely the perfect casting for Shao Kahn. Like, everyone played their characters well, but for a moment I believe this dude was a warlord from another world. Finally, a special mention goes out to CJ Bloomfield, who played Baraka. Now, it's no secret if you've watched some of my previous Mortal Kombat videos that I'm a huge Baraka fan. While his appearance in the film wasn't my favorite, I can't deny it was nice to see him actually have a somewhat important role to play in a film. Dude wasn't just a jobber this time, and that really warmed my heart, even though he's a cannibalistic monster man. Now, let's touch a bit upon the fight scenes. This will be the real reason why you go and see the movie. It feels like there's a fight at least every 5 minutes, probably less. If you're going just to see people punch, kick, and stab each other, well, I've got some good news for you. There's a lot of brutal hits in this film. There are some shockingly violent scenes that I feel are even greater than in the first. and the fighting choreography definitely felt like a step up from the first movie. I think it also took a bit of inspiration from Hong Kong cinema, especially with wire work. Folks were floating around, kicking off walls, suspending themselves in midair. It was pretty neat to see that kind of stuff going on. It sort of reminded me of Mortal Kombat's roots, with being a kind of love letter to that kind of filmmaking. As for the special effects in this movie, it feels like the CGI is definitely a step up. Now mind you, it still looks a little bit funky at times, but not nearly as much as the first film. Like, there are parts where you'll obviously tell that green screen was used, but man, it sure looked pretty cool. After all, you can't actually have your actors fight in front of a portal to another dimension. I don't even think the government has disclosed that yet. But you sure can make it look pretty. As for the sets, there's what seems like a few practical ones. There's a throne room, a sky temple, and a town square that they use quite a bit in the film. I kinda wish they had more outlandish looking ones like the Tarkatan camp or the Deadpool. But hey, what parts we got that were physical were still alright. Just wish there was more. Finally, we have the score for the film. The music in this movie was again composed by Benjamin Wallfish. And you know what? I think it's an improvement over the first film. Again, nothing really stands out, but there's a bit more care it feels like put into crafting the music that either gets the blood pumping or establishes what little atmosphere there is to be found in the calmer moments. And yes, there is yet another Techno Syndrome remix, and it's honestly an improvement over the previous film. So overall, would I recommend Mortal Kombat 2? Well, that depends. Story-wise, it's a bit of a mess. Motivations are all over the place for some characters, like, I forgot to even touch on whatever's going on with Kano. But hey, this was written by a guy who helped with Godzilla x Kong, so you kinda get what you pay for. And what you are paying for is recognizable characters from one of the biggest and oldest fighting game franchises coming to the big screen and eviscerating one another. It's an R-rated martial arts fantasy film. You are watching this for the spectacle. You are watching this like someone going to a Roman Colosseum because you want to see some blood, because you want to see body parts flying and brains splattering. Which, looking back, sounds kinda sick. Like, why do we take such comfort in the spectacle of violence? Because we know it isn't real. Just like a horror movie, these films sort of stimulate parts of our brain that just want to see some carnage, but also want to be safe knowing that none of it is real. Like when we see a slasher film because we want to be scared safely. But back to the question, should you watch it? Well, if you're over the age of 18 and are a fan of Mortal Kombat, or just martial arts and violence in general, I'd say give it a shot. It's got a lot of nods to the franchise, it's got some surprising and not so surprising deaths, and frankly, there isn't much out there right now to see, besides maybe the Sheep Detectives. That one was fun. The story is absolutely nothing to write home about here, but it's got some characters that are fun to see in action. I personally don't think it's overall as complete and comprehensive of an experience as the first film, but what it does excel at, which are the fights, are much more enjoyable than what we had in 2021. And at the end of the day, I guess that's all you really need in a Mortal Kombat film. I mean, it would be nice to have a good story, but man, what was that quote from John Carmack about stories in video games? Because in this case, it also applies to this film.